This is the Business of Apps podcast, bringing you actionable insights from the leaders of the global app industry and the world's fastest growing apps. You can find more app news, data and analysis over at businessofapps.com.
Welcome to the Business of Apps podcast. On this show, we invite app industry professionals to cover various topics. We promise to do our best to keep it both insightful but brief. In this episode, we have Ashleigh Rankin, Senior Manager, Growth Partnerships at Reddit. Ashleigh, welcome to the Business of Apps podcast.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
All right. Thanks for coming. So if you've been into app marketing for a while, you know that app marketing is a marathon. You define your app average user, you pick up marketing channels to reach out to these people, you build your app user base. You're on a constant quest to find new channels. Chances are, you know what is Facebook ads, Twitter ads, Google UAC, search ads, and from Apple. But what do you know about Reddit ads? But before answering this question, let's talk about you, Ashleigh. Tell us about yourself, please.
Sure. So you already introduced me, but I'll do it again. I'm Ashleigh Rankin. I'm a Senior Sales Manager on the Growth Partnerships team at Reddit. And I actually started my career at a small mobile-first agency in San Francisco about 8 years ago. I was number 3 in the San Francisco office, and we grew to about 75 in the 6 years that I was there. And I managed teams that were buying for very DR-heavy clients like Hotels.com and probably most significantly Supercell. But about 2 years ago, Ryan Anjurami, who had been my vendor contact and good friend at Pandora, who'd recently moved to Reddit, asked if I would be interested in helping to start the performance division of the Reddit team in New York. And so obviously I jumped at the chance. I was a huge fan of Reddit before, and I was super excited to build up a team again for an emerging platform like Reddit. So picked my life up, moved to New York a couple of years ago, and I haven't looked back.
So you were part of the Reddit community, and then you had a chance to become part of the company, right? That was exciting time for you, right?
Very exciting. I was very excited to join a company that I was really passionate about. It was a very fun time, and it's really easy to work for a company that you really believe in their mission. So I was glad to be asked to join, and I'm glad it worked out for the last couple of years so far.
That's for sure. That's labor of love. Yeah, we all dream about a job like this. All right. Well, perhaps Reddit doesn't need an introduction, but let's give our listeners a quick intro into the world of Reddit. What is it?
Yeah, absolutely. So Reddit is a network of passionate communities that can't be found elsewhere. We have about 430 million monthly visitors, and we're a top 5 site in the US. We have more than 130K active communities, and people come to engage with content that they're passionate about. So maybe I can tell you about my story and my introduction to Reddit. It actually started when I moved to San Francisco. So I'm originally from Northern Ireland, if the accent didn't give me away.
A little bit.
A little bit. But I didn't have any friends or family in the States. I was moving over there on my own. So I couldn't turn to social networks rooted in, who you follow or who you're friends with. Instead, I turned to Reddit, and I was able to ask questions about where to live and where to eat and where to find the best tacos. So even though I didn't have people that I knew in San Francisco, I really had a community that I felt that I belonged to by engaging with specific places like our Ask SF and our San Francisco. So I really felt a sense of belonging before I had even come to San Francisco. And that's ultimately what our mission is, to bring community and belonging to the world.
Yeah, that's a nice intro. Well, you mentioned the several million user base for Reddit. It's a huge community. So my next question kind of a follow-up, kind of following naturally because of the sheer scale of the platform. How do you handle such hot-button topics as content moderation? Because we all know there's huge issues that the Facebook, Twitter, YouTube has with disinformation, fake news, etc. How Reddit is different when it comes to keeping the platform clean and safe for brands and for people in general?
Yeah, so we have a pretty unique moderation strategy at Reddit. We have a layered moderation structure, which starts with our platform moderation. That's the kind of rules and policies that are created by staff for behavior on Reddit's platform. We have site-wide rules that are upheld by various teams at Reddit. And then I think what the most unique part is the community moderation. So Redditors really take it upon themselves to create rules that dictate the content and conversation on the site through moderator enforcement and voting. So if there's something that people don't like, they're going to downvote it, and it's not going to up on the homepage or within the conversation. And those rules can actually be as simple as, if you wanted to post something in our science, you actually can't create a post without a source, so that would be removed. So people have to actually engage with the rules of the communities and understand those before they can post anything. And then when it comes to actually moderating for brands, we have a bunch of different tools for brands where they can protect their own spaces with ad tools like comment moderation, community-based targeting. And then for all advertisers who want to run on Reddit, we have constantly evolving whitelist of brand safe communities for ads. So even if we were to say run a campaign on quote unquote run of site, it would actually be run of whitelisted communities. So I think that kind of 3-layered approach really makes it safe for brands to be in a platform and has helped us out so far.
Yeah, this is a pretty robust system, and all what you're describing is based on human judgment, no AI involved, right?
There is some for some of the policy updates. There are some AI, but ultimately it is rooted in being able to moderate, the communities being able to moderate themselves. And, for the brand side of things, you'll have account managers who can help you with moderation there as well.
All right, understood. Let's talk about how app marketers can run ads on Reddit to drive app installs. How does it work?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that I'm really excited about is that we recently went to GA with postgres, which was a long time coming and very exciting for me, and something that I have been pushing since I joined. Actually, even when I interviewed, I asked about postgres. So now that we have that, we are really well positioned to have app advertisers in the platform right now. You can either log into the self-serve platform on your own and start to kind of play around with setting up a campaign. You would choose the app install objective, you would input your MMP links, and we kind of handle the direct to site on there. You can see all of your campaign performance within our dashboard, within the MMP dashboard, which is awesome. But if you actually want to run a fully backed out strategy and campaign with a managed service, you can reach out to our team who would work with you on creating a media plan, setting the campaign up, uploading all of the different creatives, uploading your links for you, making the optimizations, and really setting you up for success. And that's actually what our team does a lot of. So the growth partnerships team works with a lot of app install advertisers as well as D2C advertisers. And we have account managers who set your campaign up for success, have weekly, bi-weekly calls with you to talk through whether you should change your creatives, whether you should change your targeting, and really work hand in hand with teams to figure out a strategy that works for you and ultimately brings you the best success on Reddit.
All right. Now my next question is kind of, on every platform I can think of, you can basically make two cases. Like there's a paid advertising platform that is designed to run ads and drive sales, subscriptions, etc. And there's a kind of a native way for people to present their products, their services, and apps in this case. So, are you aware of any cases when people actually run? I don't want to say run, but present their apps on the platform, and this is kind of a native advertising. Can you talk about this kind of advertising?
Yeah, so it doesn't actually happen too often on Reddit. Brands can definitely participate in conversations, participate in discussions to add value. And we've seen brands have, a subreddit dedicated to them where they will post updates and offers. If there's new features coming, they can post that. But I think the key thing is that it has to add value to the Redditors who are interested, right?
Definitely.
That won't necessarily work. It's just posting content with links out to the App Store. Like that is not something that will work on Reddit. It's actually much better to do a promoted post because authenticity is really important, and
Mm-hmm.
users like to know that they're being advertised to. And with Reddit especially, I think people that resonates with people, and they don't mind being advertised to as long as it's good ads and as long as
Right.
it's adding value. We've seen some really successful cases of, maybe gaming apps have their developers do AMAs, which is a really interesting way to engage organically with your audience. So there are ways to do it, but it's definitely it's something that you would work with the team with to figure out what the most authentic way to do that is versus starting to post in random Reddits with links.
No, not spamming. No, I'm not implying that spamming is a good thing. No, definitely not. Yeah. You can establish the two ways communication channel with your app users on Reddit if you want to, right?
Yeah, definitely. And that's where you get really unique insights. Redditors don't hold back. If they love something, they'll tell you. If they hate something, they'll tell you. If they think you need to improve on something, they will tell you. So it's a pretty good place to focus group and soft launch apps as well.
That's awesome. Now, well, we all do mistakes, right? Can you think of any mistakes that marketers do on the platform when it comes to app install campaigns? Just generically speaking.
Yeah, we see it all the time, actually. There's a few different things that people do that we often have to try and educate against. So, people try to copy and paste strategies from other social platforms. And unfortunately, it's just not going to work because Reddit is so unique and it's not like the other platforms. So what we really encourage people to do is lean into that uniqueness of Reddit and test and learn what works. Another thing that we see people do a lot is really focus on very specific, super niche subreddits for targeting, which also is really difficult. You might be able to spend $100 in a week and get 2 wheels, but it's not really going to go further than that. And I think one of the really beautiful things about Reddit is that if you run kind of a run of site campaign or an interest targeting campaign, you can find audiences that you didn't necessarily know you had. And I think I've used this example before, but for a couple gaming apps that we ran a few months ago, we saw that the parenting community and the business and finance communities, those are actually interest groups. We found that they were actually one of the top performers, even over the gaming interest group. So it's just really important to test and learn, and then hone in on what does work and optimize towards that versus I'm a gaming app, so I'm only going to target these specific subreddits and I'm going to keep my strategies that the whole time. Like, figure out what works for you and then hone in your targeting after that.
Yeah, I think it's one more reason why you should get in touch with the Reddit dedicated team to be, to get actual experience how advertising on Reddit works. If you don't have any previous experience and you're assuming that it's just going to be copy and paste from Facebook and it's going to be the same thing, and next time you're just wasting your budget, right?
Yeah, exactly. We don't want that.
Sure. Now, there are a bunch of categories for apps on both app stores. Can you think of any specific categories that you from your experience see have a better outcome, more installs, more engagement on Reddit? What categories do perform the best?
Yeah, so honestly, in the same way that there's a community for everything, we've seen lots of different things work on Reddit. So I would say it's just about again testing your brand. But some things that we've seen, tried and true success with, mobile gaming works really well. Tech recruiting works really well. We're seeing a lot of success with D2C brands. But ultimately, if you build out your campaigns in the right way, you should be able to make Reddit work for you, kind of no matter what your app is. And so we do really recommend that that you test as much as possible.
Yeah, I would guess 340 million people. You got to be able to find any interest among these people and match your application features with this audience. Now, okay, so now I've got a few quick questions. I'm asking my guests to paint a better picture of who they are. So here they are. Are you iOS or Android person?
I converted to iOS, so I have to say iOS.
Never looked back. Never had an inclination to check out what the Samsung telephone actually does.
I would try it. I'm just a creature of habit. Now that I moved to iOS, I stuck with it.
Yeah, you're in my camp. It's just interesting that the stack of people who are in the iOS camp on the show, it's pretty big, and the Android kind of a 1/3 probably, or even less. Can you remember your first mobile phone?
I do. It was a Nokia 3310, and it had a sheep cover on it.
Awesome.
I was 11.
Did you miss it?
Those were simpler times, so I'm going to say yes.
Yeah, simpler times, less distraction, less anxiety about, missing something.
Exactly. Couldn't connect to the internet.
And it ran.
And then snack.
And then snack, that's it. What is your favorite app and why now? Well, apart from Reddit.
I was going to say Reddit, obviously, and I wasn't paid to say that.
Plus Reddit.
I did actually think of a second app. I'm actually using MyFitnessPal a lot because I'm attempting a weird diet at the moment where I only eat 500 calories 2 days a week. And so MyFitnessPal is really helpful for letting me count my calories for those 2 days.
All right, that's a good choice of app. Well, speaking of apps, when you're looking at the apps on your phone, what kind of technologies are you waiting for to make these apps even better, more helpful for you?
Oh, I had a different approach to this. I think one of the things that I'm most interested to see how it shakes out in the industry is the release of iOS 14 and the death of the IDFA. I'm really intrigued as to how we're going to be tracked.
Oh, yeah.
And what that's going to mean for our industry and what that's going to mean for targeting of ads. I think the one thing that I'm excited about is that Reddit's targeting is very contextual. So outside of the attribution question, our targeting isn't going to change too much. So that's kind of fun. But yeah, I'm eagerly anticipating the changes to the world in September with the release of iOS 14.
So you're not on any side of the fence at this point. There are two camps of people who are saying, "Oh, it's going to be the end of the world. We're not going to be able to track people because nobody will accept tracking in their right mind." The other camp will say, "No, that's fine. Nothing is changing." So you're just waiting for the actual iOS being released, and then you'll make your judgment, right?
Yeah, I'm a very data-driven person, so I'm not going to speculate too much. I'm going to wait and see what happens after the first couple of weeks. I think it's probably the most interesting thing to happen in our industry for as long as I've been in it, for the last 8 or 10 years. So we'll see what happens.
That's cool. Let me shake your hand. I love data-driven people. The more rational, sane, data-driven people in this world, the better. That's a great approach to life.
So true.
Okay, so that was actually my last question. But before I let you go, how can people get in touch with you and know more about what you do?
Yeah, so I'm happy for people to reach out to me on LinkedIn. No issues with that. Or my email is ashleigh@reddit.com, but you just have to figure out how to spell Ashleigh in the weird way that I do. But always happy to help. Always happy to answer questions. And yeah, excited to get as many people on the platform and excited about it as possible as users and advertisers.
All right, cool. Don't worry, people will be able to figure out your spelling from this episode description, so they will be able to find you for sure. All right, thanks for your time and coming on our podcast, Ashleigh. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Bye-bye. And that was Ashleigh Rankin, Senior Manager, Growth Partnerships at Reddit. To listen to more episodes, subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and Stitcher. Just search for Business of Apps and you will be able to find us easily. Once you subscribe, you'll get new episodes on your smartphone, tablet, or computer as soon as we release them. And please, don't forget to leave us a review and comment. It is highly appreciated. And all episodes of the show will also be available on businessofapps.com. See you next week. Bye.
This is the Business of Apps podcast, bringing you actionable insights from the leaders of the global app industry and the world's fastest growing apps. You can find more app news, data and analysis over at businessofapps.com. Thank you for listening to the Business of Apps podcast. For more, head on over to businessofapps.com.